So on our little Kubota engine we're going to put in a skid steer. We took the original bell housing and stuff off, pulled the clutch off of it, and we're going to adapt the original flex plate and all the connecting couplers and stuff to run the skid steer onto this little engine. And the only thing that's going to really hold us up right now is that little pilot bushing in there is slightly different size than the original clutch, so that would have to slide in there to make this work. And the original shaft is a little bit smaller down there. Doggone stick supervisor. So we may have to have a machine shop build us a custom bushing for that. Other than that, I think the motor mounts are going to work out pretty easily. Just get everything lined up. No matter what we say, I'll just...
So if I say stuff like, Terry's a dumbass.
I might leave that in there. They know me as Grandpa thinks a lot.
but I got it fixed for him. Don't worry about it.
Now, did you screw up
the holes configuration here? Mm-hmm. Oh wait, or was it these holes? You already marked them, so it's a different set of holes. It makes me wonder if I should try harder and see if there's actually a set that'll match.
Good. I mean, that's what that plate's for.
Nope. No, it misses. So it just tells us, so if we screw it up, we can screw it up the other direction if we need to.
I'll leave that in there too.
Yeah. I'm going to cut somewhere in here. Whatever this comes out to, from here to our backing plate. We got to get it on there and measure it so we know.
Yeah.
Bastard. This sounds very good. What am I doing? Other than lining it up, really? That ought to be enough. I'm missing down this hole down here. Or if I run it on this hole here, I could use the impact height. I wish I had the starter. Oh, I will have. I could start it and see if that's going to clear. It looks like it's going to clear. Could run a feeler gauge around it, just make sure a feeler gauge goes all the way around it. Huh? Okay. Oh, it's touching. Right there. And here. All the way to there again. Right there. Think.
Whoops. Just like homemade.
I don't know, you think I need to weld that inside?
Nope.
It's super close right there where it needs to be, as far as this way.
The motor mount's all built. Put the radiator back on. Mounted the voltage regulator in the fuse box. Now we're getting ready to mount the fuel tank. The fuel tank's going to be mounted up here on this bracket. Couplers all lined up down there. Got most of the wiring done. We still have to put all the controls here on the dash, but we're going to get her fired up here in a minute to see how it works. Try the hydraulics out and stuff like that to make sure it does what it's supposed to do. Hydraulics looks like they're right up to the max. That's good. It's kind of red, so it must be ATF. Let's fire this thing up and see what we can do as soon as we get the fuel tank mounted, that is. The rear gate's about on. I didn't realize that these big bolts on this gate here, get my camera coordinated here, were kind of loose, and the gate kind of slipped with those two weights. and then that hole down there doesn't quite line up for the pin. So I'll get a drift punch in there, maybe line those holes up, and then I got to get my impact out here and tighten those big bolts up. That bottom weight bolts directly to the machine, and the two top ones swing open so you can get in there to service things inside the engine compartment. And with this little 3-cylinder diesel engine we have in here, it's a lot more room in here than the old V4 Ford engine that was in here. You can actually get around to things. And I've got a bunch of grease zerks inside this thing I've got to get to. Grease it up pretty good. And as I recall, there's signs of oil leakage over here. The chain that's inside here also has to have lubricant. I can't remember, I think that was 90 weight in those chain boxes, but I'm thinking I'll download a service manual for this thing if I can find one, and get things up to snuff before we start using it. Got a little oil leakage on this side too. It may be such a thing that I'm going to have to reseal those side panels. The side panels come loose in order to repair the chain or take them out of there, fix the adjusters. If I remember right, these are the adjusters. So again, the service manual would be nice because I don't know anything about this little machine yet. Learning a lot about it after me and my nephew put this thing back together. The chain coupler down there had to have that shaft machined just slightly for the pilot bushing that's inside that bell housing that my nephew built. And I already got the voltage regulator and the fuse box mounted there. Now I got to mount the key switch and the gauges. I got to figure all that out yet. Getting close. Got some low tires. I got to figure that out. These all have tubes in them. And then this one and the front one on the other side is not taking air quite right. So I'll get my valve core remover tool, take the core out, put new core in, see if they'll take air again. Things been sitting, this, according to what I understand, this would be the third year it was sitting, not being used because the engine was bad. And we've got a little bit of work to do to it yet. My nephew, he suggested that I cut this old blade edge off of here and put on a better one, a new one. This one's in pretty bad shape. It needs to be replaced. And at some point in the past, they did some welding on this ram over here. I got to figure all that out. They got another ram that came with the machine. I think he said he ordered that out of the Denver area, and so I can replace that one. I got to figure out what they did and see if I can get some semblance of original back on there so it's easily serviceable. Well, the hydraulics work. The up and down works real good. The tilt on the bucket is totally backwards. So this pedal here runs that, and I've got to switch a couple hydraulic hoses to make that work. And it's actually, if they'll do it, I think they will, I can switch these two hoses and these two hoses to make that bucket act like it's supposed to. Any other skid steer you get into, you tilt it forward and it tilts the bucket forward. And this one it's just opposite. And that's really hard to get used to. Getting close. Well, just about got her done. I want to put some sort of a lid on the top of this thing, wire mesh or something. As typical with skid steers, you bring the bucket up really high and it's almost over the operator. And we put this fuel tank off that Kubota up here, which works really good. The old tanks are rusty, so I think I'll get some tank treatment put in there, run it for a little while, drain them, and then take my camera down in there and see if the tanks are pretty clean. If they are, then I can hook up to those pretty easily. There's a place right there on the side, right there, and you can get to it on this side too, right here where this plug is. But when I need to hook up to the one side, it does have a crossover tube down there, and it's that round pipe down there between those two frame members. I can hook up to that and run my diesel that way. Now the original Kubota tractor, which is kind of heaped up over there with that old V4 Ford engine, that thing was brought to an auction down in southern Colorado, and when they strapped up to it and lifted it off the guy's trailer, they dropped it and it broke the transaxle. And when it broke that transaxle, I can show you the housing over here. When it broke that transaxle, apparently it also broke the radiator. So this is the axle off of it, and it's broken. So this thing really wasn't worth putting back together. But anyway, I suspect that when they dropped it, that's what broke this radiator here. So I'm going to pull the radiator out of it. Right now we just have water in it, and then actually I put distilled water in it because I didn't want the extra minerals. And I'm going to pull the straps loose, pull that core out of the straps, and see if I can find down there in the core on where it's leaking. It's right here somewhere at the top. Could be at the seam, but it doesn't look like it. It's like it's down just a little ways. And solder it up, and then put the straps back on and put it back in here and run it. Now what we might eventually do is, and in fact I have a radiator down below, still brand new in the box, and it's a small one like this, but the hoses have to be on the same side of the radiator. If that one's like that, then I could actually adapt that radiator into this. It's not anywhere close to being the original one for this machine, but you know, we adapted the engine in here to run this skid steer. We can adapt the radiator if we have to. You know, one good thing about this little Mustang skid steer is it has auxiliary hydraulics, front and rear, and so you can run some hydraulic attachments. The bucket plate is different than the newer styles, and I see a lot of people out there adapting this original bucket plate to the new style. What I'm going to look at is doing basically the same thing. Now I have skid steer bucket and forks and other attachments that fit the newer style bucket plate. If I put that plate on there, that would make this a lot more useful to us. And for the winter time, which we're into August now, 2025. For the winter time, this has pretty aggressive tires on it. It should do pretty good. Unfortunately, Our switchback trail goes off the back side of the property down there behind that old Suburban there. And that's pretty steep, so I've got a set of chains that I'm going to make up for this, make them so they're sized correctly. And some of the chains I have might not even need to be resized, but anyway, I'm going to have a set of chains on this winter time. I plan on using it. May not be using it a lot in winter time, but I'll be using it. I'm going to call this the end of the video for now. I'll probably try to film some of the little things that I'm doing to it as I'm mounting gauges and doing the bucket plate and that kind of stuff. I might even film when I'm switching those hoses around. But that's the Mustang project.